All right. Hello and welcome to the August webinar for the Atlanta Tribune TnT series, Tips and Tricks. I'm your host, Brent Leary. And I know I say this every month with these, and I think it's true that we always have really great topics and really great guests. This is definitely no exception. We're going to be talking about social selling. And, we always hear about marketing and branding and promotion and when it comes to social media, and we're starting to hear a lot about customer service and support when it comes to social media and social in general. Sometimes it feels like the act of selling kind of gets left behind. And so social has a great impact or can have a great impact on your ability to sell, even if it's online or offline, social strategy as well as social tools. And so tonight we're going to spend an hour with I call him the Right Reverend Jon Ferrara. He's one of the biggest social selling experts and evangelists out there. But in addition to actually walking the walk when it comes to selling and social, he also is a serial entrepreneur. And you may have heard of and maybe used one of his previous business applications, Goldmine, one of the companies and products that started the whole CRM movement. But now, after he sold that one off a few years ago, about 10, 15 years ago now, Jon?
That's right.
Now he's on to something else called Nimble. You might have heard of Nimble, Nimble.com. And it is a social relationship management platform in the cloud. So we're going to have him start to tell us a little bit about how his approach and what his approach is to social selling and how it can impact what you guys do. Before I pass it over to him, I just want to do a couple of house cleaning items here. I would say cleaning. It could be housekeeping, house cleaning, whatever it is. We got a couple of things I want to point out. So if you're on Twitter and you want to follow the conversation, as I'm going to try to make sure I tweet out as much of the gems that Jon drops on us, I'm going to try to tweet out as much as I can. You can follow that on hashtag Tribune TnT. If you have some questions that you'd like to pose to Jon throughout the course of the night, go ahead and look over to your right, and there's that cute questions area on the right there. Just pop that open, throw your question out there, and we will make sure we get it over to Jon as we can. And if you want to follow things on Facebook, you can also go to the Facebook page that we have for the Technology for Business column. So that's facebook.com/technology for business. So once again, Twitter, you want to follow it, hashtag Tribune TnT. Facebook, go to Technology for Business under facebook.com. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Jon Ferrara. As I told you, Jon is a serial entrepreneur. And Jon, as I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and give you control of the slides here. All right, so as I was saying, Jon Ferrara is the CEO and founder of Nimble. Nimble is a social relationship management platform that a lot of businesses are using to try to keep up with the people they're trying to build relationships with. And, Jon, do you mind if I tell folks a little about Goldmine and what you did with Goldmine and what led you to Nimble before we jump in?
Please do, Brent. I'd love you to tell the story. I'd love to hear you tell stories.
So as I was saying, there's two applications that really kind of kick things off. There's App and there was Goldmine. And Goldmine is really made based on Jon's need to keep track of the contacts he was selling to back in the day, right, Jon?
That's right. I think the best products come from your own need because you're passionate about it and you understand the problem.
So you were passionate about selling and building relationships. He turned that passion into not just an application, but a full-blown business, which you then turned around and sold about 10 years later, if I'm not mistaken, for, well, we'll just say roughly 100 million, give or take a mil or something like that. And then you had Jon sat out for a while, kind of enjoyed, building, growing a family, right? And then you kind of got that itch again, and that itch led to kind of trying to solve the same problem that you were solved back in the the 80s and 90s, but it morphed into a different kind of a different taste to the same problem, and that led to Nimble. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jon to talk about the role that social selling has played in how he's built relationships and even built companies. So without further ado, Jon Ferrara.
Brent, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to get up on my soapbox and talk about something I'm extremely passionate about: building relationships and growing business. I think one of the things that I've been blessed with is being able to empower millions of business professionals around the world to build their dreams. And what it does is it really powers my soul to when somebody stops me on the street and says, Jon, you really helped me build my dreams and grow my business. And so today what I'd like to talk about is the power of engagement and relationships with the right customer at the right time on the right channel with the right message in an authentic and relevant way to grow a business. And it seems, Brent, that the more digital we get, the more human we need to be. And what people forget about business is it's really about serving people. I think the Zig Ziglar said it best: is the more people that you can serve and help grow, the more you can grow. And sometimes I feel like sales is a four-letter word, that it sometimes has a connotation amongst the worst professionals, even at the lowest levels of measurements, like lawyers. And I think that salespeople, business people, are the people that power the world. These are the people that help other people achieve their dreams. And in order for you to stand out from the crowd, in order for you to have the opportunity to do business, you need to be top of mind with your customer. I think this is an age-old problem that will never go away, and that today, in today's exploding world of networks and conversations, that it's hard to build your brand and grow your network. And so let's talk about that, the power of a personal brand. I believe that your professional net worth is equal to the sum of your personal brand plus your professional network, and you build your brand on a daily basis by the actions you take and the words that you share, and that a company brand is built by the promises they make to customers and the experience that they deliver based on those promises as the customers do business with that company. And more a company brand is built by the sum of the socially empowered employees. You know, Brent, I want to tell you a story about a webinar I did 2 days ago, and it was with a pretty smart guy who was the CMO of Kodak at one time, and now he has a TV show on Bloomberg. And what he was saying is he thinks that most business people are afraid of their employees' social brands. In fact, what he said was there was an example of a car dealership where this sales rep at a car dealership, their brand was driving 5 times as many car sales as any other rep in the store because of their use of social to participate in the customer journey and become part of that conversation and grow sales to the point where the company was thinking about letting that rep go. And I think that's just crazy. I think that companies should be embracing smart, social empowered employees and learning from them and using them to grow the business. So how do you build your brand on a daily basis? I think that you do it by sharing content and giving it away and becoming a trusted advisor in your customer's new journey. And if you think about the old days of marketing, controlling conversations, and the marketing material and the salespeople using that marketing material to engage customers and control the conversation, well, those days are just over. And so today's social seller is using content to inspire and educate their customers, to build their brand, and then to grow their professional network. And this is a picture of an old-fashioned Rolodex. And sometimes I feel like the whole CRM industry hasn't gotten much farther than when I left it, when I helped found it some time ago. I look at this old-fashioned Rolodex and I think about, you know, what people think about their network today. Is your network a collection of business cards? Is your network a collection of LinkedIn connections or Facebook friends or Twitter followers? No. Your network is a collection of business professionals that you've taken the time to get to know, to pay that relationship forward over time as a trusted advisor to that person, so that when they do make a buying decision, they think of you, Or if you ever need something and you reach out, not only are they more than happy to help you, but they want to drag their friends to help you because you've developed that type of mutually beneficial business relationship. And so in the old days, how do we build those relationships? We got to know people. We did our homework. We went and met with people. Can you believe that in the old days we actually met face-to-face with people, Brent? Today, in this digital age, I think people are forgetting to pick up the phone. People are forgetting to go and meet with people. And in the old days, I used to teach my sales reps, when you go in somebody's office, look at their walls, look at the books they read, the degree of the school they went to, the knickknacks they collect. You use these things as clues in order for you to figure out something that you share in common with that person, so that you can then share that with that person to break the ice and develop the intimacy necessary for them to open up to you about their business issues, which as a professional you can then solve. And you know, today in social, it's not much different. It's just we're doing it electronically. And the hard thing is you're doing it in 6 different tabs in your browsers and 3 different apps in your desktop, and sometimes it's just kind of hard to do. And the funny thing is this is just the early first wave of huge seed change of the ways that customers will make buying decisions and the ways companies will engage them and the way that companies will build their brand and connect to the new social customers. And I believe outside of the social tech Kool-Aid drinking coast, most business people like your constituency there in Atlanta feel like this person here, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, looking from the outside in, trying to figure out how to do this stuff. How do I transform my business from an old brick-and-mortar business where I put advertisements in yellow pages, or I had a newsletter, or I used email to yell at people about how great my products and services are, to becoming a social business powered by social employees, where you are on a daily basis doing what I call as the 5 E's of social business: educate, engage, enchant, embrace, and empower your customers. How do you do that? You know, I think that people who actually do try to do that feel like this guy. They just want to scream, because sometimes it can be overwhelming, and I get that. I am a guy who basically started with a Rolodex. I started with a day timer. I used to communicate with Pink while you're out subs. I've had to transform to the digital age and basically learn how to build my brand and grow my network. Imagine being a dad for 8 years and stepping away from the computer industry. What would it be like to go and build your brand and then build a company brand? Ultimately, to stand out from the crowd, you can't do it by yelling at people how great your products and services are. You need to teach people how they can be great. I tell people all the time, if you teach people to fish, they'll figure out yourself fishing poles. So how do you do that? How do you teach people how they can be great? Well, you don't do it by yelling at them about how great your products are, how great you are, and then driving them into the hands of Slick Willie, because nobody wants to buy from Slick Willie anymore. They want to buy from a trusted advisor, somebody who is helping them to grow their business. And so I think if you come at sales from a service mentality where you're there to help businesses grow, I think that's the key place to start. And then you need to understand the new customer journey. So in the old days, like I said, businesses used to control the marketing material. They used to yell at the customers, drive them into the hands of the sales reps who would control the conversation and get and bag and tag the order, and then drive them in the hands of the customer service department who would minimize the conversation and try to get people off the phone as fast as possible. And what you had was silos of departments. You had marketing department, sales department, customer service, and then the executives. And in many cases, the salespeople would complain that marketing's not giving them any decent leads, and marketing would complain the salespeople aren't driving any leads, and the customer service department was the peon of the whole organization, and they basically got no respect. I believe that customer service is the key to winning and keeping business. By delivering an outstanding customer experience before and after the sale, this is the way that you not only get people to come back to your business, but drag their friends with them. And the key thing to remember about this slide is that today, customers have shut down. They don't listen to marketing material. They don't want to talk to your salespeople. They want to do their own research, and they want to talk to their friends. They want to talk to influencers and trusted advisors, and they basically, when they're ready to buy, they just buy, and then what they do is they yell back at the company on whatever channel they want to whatever department they want and expect an authentic and relevant response in a timely fashion. And most companies' idea of dealing with that is to use social media to yell at their customers, or worse yet, to hire a 25-year-old kid and give them a Hootsuite and basically just react to people yelling at them. What you need to do is you need to begin to participate in that customer's journey by becoming a trusted advisor, doing what you need to do to connect in an authentic and relevant way, inspiring and educating those customers on a daily basis. And so this is my slide about summarizing kind of some of the things I talked about, and the key thing to do when you're engaging with a customer is to listen. When you actually get an opportunity to connect with a customer, I think the key to selling is learning how you can serve that customer. And sometimes, Brent, I feel like Don Quixote. I know that I've been saying and teaching the same thing for 30 years, and I'm going to repeat it. The more digital we get, the more human we need to be. And it's not B2B or B2C. It's P2P and H to H. People buy from people. People buy from people they like, and they like people who know them. You can't know somebody without listening to them. And so let's talk about how you do engage that new customer in the new customer life cycle. This is actually the modern model of the customer life cycle, and in some respects, this I think it's already outdated. But let's talk about it so people understand the journey of their customers. First off, in order to get a customer at your business, you got to get their attention. In the old days, we used interrupt marketing, madmen marketing, to yell at the customers. Today, we're doing it through content, through inspiring and educating. Once you get that eyeball, you basically have to begin to nurture and engage them to surface the best leads for you to have a one-on-one conversation with that customer in order to drive the revenue and then get their retention and their referral. This is a more modern model of a lead cycle in a company. This is a model of a company called Hootsuite. And what they do is they basically have the social listening platform, and they drive 100,000 leads, trials, into the website on a monthly basis. I know that's a huge number. And from this, they then drive them into their marketing automation system. That's that platform called Marketo. And from there, they nurture, market them, and they basically try to lead qualify the best leads, where they put them in their CRM. They use Salesforce there. And then once it goes into the CRM, the sales rep has to then go and do the hard work. What they do is they go and look that person up. So let's look at the typical cycle of a modern business person. So when you get a lead in your CRM, this is an example of a modern CRM. This is a product called Salesforce. If you think about what CRM is, it stands for Customer Relationship Management. It is essentially a database. It's a database that you get your business, customer-facing business team members to log what they know about a person, what they did with a person, and what they think they should do in order for you to then manage the lead process. And so imagine if you have a sales rep, how many sales reps do you think you could get to go and type the information they know about a customer? How do you get to know about a customer? Today what you do is you Google them. You look them up. And in many cases, you go directly over to their LinkedIn and you go and look at their walls. You look at their background. And then from there, you apply a lens on that, and you determine if this is somebody that you should or could engage with, and if you should, how you might connect, who you might connect through, what you might talk about, and then what you do is you go take all that information and you type that into the CRM. Then what you do is you go and engage in email and social, and then what you do is you go and log what you did in the CRM. This is 60% of the sales rep's time doing non-sales activities. And sometimes, Brent, I think that you can get to know somebody faster in 5 seconds by looking at their Instagram, at least in a way that you might be able to figure out how you might connect with them and what you might talk about. I believe that you can't rely on a single point of reference if you're getting to know somebody, that it really makes sense to begin to walk in the digital footprint and get to know them across whatever channel is available, including looking them up in Google and looking them up in social. And the problem I see with the traditional cycle is that you then go log all that stuff in your CRM, and so what's happening is that many sales reps are not living in the CRM. They live in their inbox. They live in social. And then what they do is they go and log that stuff inside the CRM. And so I think that the new funnel is not necessarily a funnel, but it might be more like a life cycle or a pretzel, because you never know at what point in the cycle that you're engaging with that customer during their life cycle or their consideration process of engaging with their company. And what you need to be able to be prepared to do is engage that customer intelligently and effectively. And so let's review what I believe is the roadmap of the social business. I call it the 5 E's of social business. Is you engage with content, you enchant by being relevant and timely, and you engage authentically, then you embrace with intent and you empower that customer to grow. And so let's look at the typical way that that I, as a social employee of Nimble, on a daily basis, go out and build my brand. And so let's go into my Nimble system here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Signals tab and look at the type of content that I share on a daily basis. So what this is this is my content across all my different channels. And what you'll see is on a daily basis, what I'm doing is I'm teaching our customers to fish. So rather than me constantly saying how great Nimble is, what I'm doing is I'm teaching them how to be more effective at sales, marketing, customer service, social media, social business. And what this does is it generates little red lights on my network. So imagine that that basically the content that I share is like a fishing lure outside of my boat as I'm driving my boat down the social river, and I'm sharing content to attract the right fish. And what's happening is that these different types of content are bringing in different types of people, and what you need to be able to do is then reel in those people as they start to bite on your content and decide which one of these people are people that matter, and then be able to engage intelligently and effectively. And so basically on a daily basis, what I do is I go out and I read, I curate content. And the reason I do that is because I find it difficult to write blogs on a daily basis. And so what I've done is I go out and I find content that inspires and educates our customers about the promise of our product. So we teach them how to be great. We teach them to fish. And what I do is I've gone out and identified the top thought leaders in my industry, and I built relationships with them where I paid these relationships over time. And now these people not only are now Nimble users, but they're content contributors to our blog, which basically delivers the content that we use on a daily basis to inspire and educate our customers about how they can grow their business. And all of this generates the traffic that goes into our website that basically helps us to convert into sales. So if this is a graph of users that are using our app per month in our website, and you can see that when we first started with the idea of social selling, the market was early. And so as we built the product in alpha and then beta and then turned on the paywall in 2013, you can see that something significant happened this year. What's happened is that the world's woken up to the power of their personal brand and their professional network and their need to engage intelligently and effectively. And what you can see is our users are spending an inordinate amount of time in there. And the interesting thing is that we don't advertise at all. All of our leads, all of our traffic to our website is generated by customer word of mouth. So what's happening is that we're telling stories, teaching customers how they could be great. They're going to our website. They're figuring out that Nimble actually helps them to do that. And what they're doing then is they're sharing that story with their friends, and that's driving our trial users and our paid users. And so without any marketing and without any sales, we're generating leads, converting sales, and our customers are actually answering customer service questions for us out in social. And this is the model that I want to teach you as a business person to basically do what I call is the 5 E's of social business. That's the educate, that's the content that we share. We write some of it, other friends of ours write it, and we share their content. And then when you share that content, you then engage with those customers and you help them grow their business, and that then generates traffic back to your website and helps you grow. And so my background, as Brent was saying, is that I helped invent the CRM industry way back in the day, and I did that because I was a business professional. I was working in Dallas as part of a technology company. I was getting leads from corporate on sheets of paper. I'd cold call them and make notes on my day timer. We'd communicate with pink out slips, and then we did our forecast on spreadsheets. And I said, you know what, this is not working for me. And when I looked around, I saw that there was not a networkable sales team tool that integrated sales and marketing and relationship management into one common platform. So at 27 years old, I was too young and dumb to know any better. I quit my job and I built it, and spent 10 years selling it, and took a little bit of time off to raise some babies. And then I started to use social media, and I saw the power of it. And I started looking around for a relationship management system that would enable me to integrate my contacts and relationships. Couldn't find it. I started looking at CRM systems and saw they weren't about relationships. They're management reporting platforms, and that most of us live in our contact tool. And basically, the problem with the contact tools is that they don't give you any context. So basically, today, if you're in your inbox and you want to know who this guy Brent is, well, it doesn't say anything inside the inbox. And if you want to go to your contact record, there's not much more. And if you had a meeting with somebody and you wanted to know who that person was, it's hard to get context. So what you're doing is you're going out and Googling people, and then you're basically trying to log it and look it up. And so I believe that instead of having to Google people, that I believe that the computer should do that for you. So that's why we built this Nimble platform. And what Nimble does is Nimble actually looks somebody up, maps their background across all their networks, and then brings down their walls into the platform so that you can then walk in their digital footprint and really get to know who that person is before you meet with them. So as you can see, Nimble pulls down this person's contact info across all their networks, and it's great to see this information. I think one of the biggest problems with CRMs is that if you could actually force your salespeople to use it, which I'm going to tell you, it's nearly impossible to beat on people to go look things up and log them. But if you could, by the time they log that data into the CRM, it's dead information because the information decays over time. That's one of the reasons we built Nimble, because Nimble automatically updates that data on a daily basis and then provides you with a smart summary that prepares you like Obama would be prepared before a meeting. So basically what you do is you go into Nimble and you have a digital dossier that gives you the 411 on who that person is, where they work, where they're from, where they live, where they check in, what shared friends you have, what areas of influence they have, and what that person has said about you, your team, or your brand. And if you're connected, if your team's connected, when was the last time you spoke? What did you say? Because we record any conversation and interaction that you and your team have. And then if you do want to engage that person, of course you can send them a message. But you know, I believe the best way to stay top of mind is to pay relationships forward, where you're sharing that person's content and adding value to the conversation, so that when you do reach out, it's a warm call rather than a cold call. And so what I love to do is I love to add value to other people's conversation, and I use Nimble to do that. And so basically what I just demonstrated to you is that before a meeting, what you should do is prepare for that meeting, get to know who that person is. You should log that information into something, and then you should engage with that person across all the appropriate places that you need to in order to be effective with that person. Let's get into your personal brand and building your brand across all these networks. I'm going to use myself as an example. This is my LinkedIn profile. when you build your identity, what you want to do is make sure that you use a picture of yourself that you can see your face and your eyes clearly. And because I believe that the window to your soul is through your face and through your eyes. That's how people connect. And when you do put your identity up, what you want to be able to do is you want to put in information that clearly lets people know who you are, what you're about, what you're passionate about, and some information that supports you in your areas of expertise. So you can see in here that I have some keynotes from conferences that I've done, and some videos of those same things, and I basically list my background in there. And then if you go to my different identities, I have that same a consistent look across all those identities. And I believe that that you should share a little bit of your personality with people, because that's how people get to know you. And so if you look in here, here's a photograph that I shot near my home, and I share up here, I pinned one of the recent keynotes I did for Dell World right at the top of my Twitter profile. And so you have control over the imagery and the information, the bio, and the information that goes at the top of these identities, and that you should, on a regular basis, update on that information so that people can connect with you in an intelligent way and really get to know you. And so you can see I share a consistent picture across all these identities. And one of the things that many people don't understand is the power of social networks beyond LinkedIn. Now, I'm not saying that LinkedIn is not a powerful network that would enable you to begin to build your brand, but ultimately, for you to really reach out to the right customer, you need to understand where your customers have conversations and where they connect. And in many cases, Twitter is as powerful, in some cases more powerful than LinkedIn for some connections. And you can see that on a regular basis, I'm sharing content on Twitter, and then I engage with people on that content. I'm going to show you how I share my content. So I use this product called Buffer App. And with Buffer App, what it does is it basically allows me to curate content and share that content across all my different identities. And so basically, here is some content that I've queued up on my LinkedIn identity. And so what you can see is I share content that teaches people how they can grow. I share content that is essentially just quotes sometimes. I sometimes share content that is not necessarily business related, but things that I find fascinating. And so basically, like I said, it's important to roll your sleeves up, unbutton your shirt, show them your heart so they can connect to you. And so what I do is I go and find articles on social selling and social business, and I teach people about these things. And then when I find this content, I then use Buffer to queue that content up, and then I decide what identities I might want to share that on, and then basically queue this up. You decide how much content makes sense for your particular business or identity. But for me, what I do is on my Facebook, I share about 2 tweets a day, 2 posts a day. On my LinkedIn, it's about 4, and on my Twitter, it's about 5. And I change that frequency on the weekend. And all of this, what this does is it generates bytes on my network. So what you see is people plus wanting, liking, commenting, retweeting, or otherwise engaging with me. And when they do that, what I can do is I can go ahead and see who this person is. I can see the history of our conversations. I can go into there and basically, if that person's in my Nimble system, walk in the digital footprint, thank them, communicate with them. And so this is all basically getting back to the whole idea of being smart in your engagement with customers, sharing content, identifying people that matter, reaching out and connecting to those ones that matter, and then nurturing that relationship over time so that it results in a mutually beneficial business outcome. I'm going to stop here, Brent, and just see if we have any questions.
You know, you've really touched on a number of things here, and a lot of this. How long did it take you to come up with your routine? How much trial and error is involved, and how do you measure to figure out how this mix is working?
Sure, that's a great question. So, Brent, if you think about it, Goldmine helped invent networkable relationship management with automated sales and marketing before networks were even prevalent. Basically, when Goldmine came out, file record locking was just starting, and people were using Novell networks for sharing printers and hard drives. And so I saw a change in the way businesses are going to operate because of networks, notebooks, client-server computing, and SQL, and I basically built a platform to leverage those sea changes. With Nimble, I saw social selling occurring 5 years ago with the evolution of social, mobile, big data, and corollaries, and I believe that Nimble was ahead of its time 4 years ago. I think the whole market's woke up to that today, and the way I developed this whole Nimble way, is the way I call this philosophy, is through trial and error, because ultimately I started to use Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn to build my brand and grow my network, and it got hard for me to go and share content and then manage these signals of these people who are engaging with me, and so I started to use Hootsuite to manage those signals and to be able to
John, you still there? So we're having a little trouble hearing you. Are you still there? Okay, sounds like we may be having some technical difficulty with John's phone, but this may be a good opportunity. If you do have a question, I'm sure we'll be able to get him back shortly. If you do have a question for John, go ahead and throw it into the questions box there, and hopefully by the time we get him back, we'll be able to go and get your questions answered. So once again, go ahead if you have a question. I know there's been a ton. He's walked through a number of things, a number of important things, and things that have worked for him. If you remember looking at that Google Analytics chart he had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're seeing it go from 0 visitors to, like 40, 50,000 visitors each month. And he just talked about how he used social to do that. Remember, he also said that they haven't spent $1 on marketing. So he's really taken us through how you can go from 0 to 40, 50,000 visitors a month using not only social tools, but social strategies, social kind of ways to engage, that it's not just about using the tool. Oh, good. He popped it open for me. So maybe he can still hear us, but maybe not see. So they're doing.
Brent, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Great. I was trying to tap dance long enough for you to get back. So I was just talking about doing a little recap around how you basically went from 0 to what we're showing here without having a marketing budget, spending on marketing, but using these strategies and tactics that you were just talking about. And we got a question in, so let me go ahead and throw that out.
That's right, Brent.
So the question is from Allison Slocum. Hello, Allison. How can someone get a modest start using Nimble?
Say that one more time, Brent.
She wants to know, how can someone get a modest start using Nimble?
Well, it's really simple. What you should do, number one, is make sure that you go out and build a your personal professional identity and your business identities across all the different networks. I recommend a platform called Noam, and what Noam does is it basically allows you to search across all the different networks and basically find your brand name. So basically, if I was looking for Nimble CRM, basically it would tell me if that brand was available on these different networks. Then what I do is I'd go build my brand on each of these networks: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Plus, etc. Then what I would do is I would set up a Nimble account and map in all my different networks and identities into the Nimble system, so that Nimble can centralize your contacts from all the different places that you are. Then what I would do is I'd sign up for either a Hootsuite account or for a Buffer account, and I would start sharing content on a regular basis that inspires and educates your customers about the promise of your products or services. The thing that I think most business people forget is they know more about their products and services than their customers will ever know in their lifetime, and they regularly read more information about their products and services. Imagine if they gave that knowledge away on a daily basis, what that would do to basically their brand. And what you see is basically the analytics off of those shares and the people then engaging with Nimble, and what that does is essentially drives our traffic and our revenue.
Let me ask you a quick question. This is something that we talked about not that long ago. So you outlined a number of tools and systems, including Nimble, that you use and have impacted your ability to build relationships in the modern era with the modern customer. But you also have history, you have experience as a salesperson. Going forward, and this is the old insights versus instincts thing, how should a salesperson today going forward figure out the right mix of insights that are received or gleaned from using systems like this, and setting up the processes that allow them to understand who the person is, and doing it in a fast, efficient way, versus using their sales experience and their sales expertise and kind of going by the gut. So it's you have the hardcore data insights versus the gut. What percentage of each should a person be using today, and how is that going to change over time as systems get more integrated in, as customers continue to evolve and change and expect different things from people they're doing business with?
Well, Brett, that's a great question, and I'm going to give you a live example. So let's say that this guy, Brian, was a lead for your business. You're a sales rep, and basically it's a lead that just came in your CRM or wherever it is. It's a name. It's all it is a name. So gut, what do you do with that? I mean, I guess gut, what you can do is you can go Google the guy. But I think that you should use technology to Nimble them. So you see this button up here on the right that says Nimble toolbar widget?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So basically with Nimble, I just hit a button and look at this. It tells me he's not in Nimble, and it allows me to go ahead and put him in Nimble. Look at this. It auto-magically builds a record for this person and then begins to do the work to map this guy across all of his networks and build a digital dossier that gives me the intelligence to be effective. So now I know that he's working at this place, Groupon, and he's an investor. He used to work at Lightbank, and he's been an investor in these products. I can see whether or not I'm connected, whether or not my team's connected. I can go and look at the details of his background and begin to build a digital relationship with this person. And so I think that it's a lot more intelligent to be able to hover and discover, to click and connect when you have the intelligence of something like Nimble on your side. Now, the difference between insights and instinct. Instinct comes from when I'm engaging with a customer and I ask them a question and I listen and I can hear and see answers, or I feel or sense things that that give me clues on how I might best be able to serve that person. This is what the effective salesperson does, is they blend the combination of all of these key insights and intelligence into them being at the top of their heap.
So let's think
Does that
about
make
this.
sense?
Yep, I was getting ready to say. So not only does this, it should enhance and kind of help a salesperson not completely do the job for the salesperson, but enhance the way that the salesperson goes about building relationships. Now, if you're a person who isn't starting to do this and hasn't started to go down this path, what kind of detriment do they have when they are going against somebody who is using these kind of, not just the tools, but the social philosophies and strategies that you're talking about? What's the difference between a person who is using these tools with the right strategy and with the right kind of philosophy versus a traditional approach, a traditional tools approach and a traditional sales approach that might have been, worked pretty efficiently 5-10 years ago, but with today's customer, not so much?
Well, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story about this guy named John Mason at IBM. The traditional sales rep probably would never have gotten their foot in the door with this guy. I believe that if you're not utilizing modern methods of participating in your new social customer's journey as a trusted advisor with the intelligence that enables you to authentically and relevantly connect to give you the opportunity to serve them so that you're top of mind when they make a buying decision, you're done in today's business world. You're dead. You can't compete. So I feel that strongly about it. Is that clear, Brent?
Yeah, don't hold back. Tell me how you really feel.
All right. So basically, on a daily basis, if you're smart in business, you're sharing content that inspires and educates other people about the promise of your product. What happens is it generates signals. People then +1 like, comment, retweet, or otherwise engage with you. Brent, I don't have the time on a daily basis to look at the people who are engaging with me. So here's this guy that basically started following me yesterday. So basically, I don't know a thing about this guy. And you know what? I probably would have missed it. Nimble basically listens to my signals on a daily basis. And your most important business signals are your email and your calendar. But beyond that, we listen to the social signals, and we surface the top signals on a daily basis in a Nimble Daily and your Today page. So basically, Nimble told me some guy from some CRM company started following me. I would have never known that. Nimble does. On a daily basis, Nimble looks at my signals and identifies the ones that matter and enables me to intelligently engage. So it basically told me about this guy, Daniel, who basically started to connect with me and enables me to then determine if this is somebody that matters to me and if I should connect. The great thing is that Nimble looks at the DNA of the people I successfully connected with in the past, sold to, and it then, like Pandora, serves up more people like them. And that's how I basically got to know this guy, Jon Mason. And so Jon Mason started following me on Twitter. I would have never known. Nimble did. Nimble basically said in the Nimble Daily and Today page that this person might matter. I brought this person out of the digital river, let Nimble automatically build a record for him. It then mapped his profiles, and I was able to see that he's the general manager and senior vice president of IBM's mid-market SMB group. And so what would you do with somebody who started following you? First off, most people wouldn't even know. Brent, do you look at who follows you on a daily basis?
No.
Of course. No, you can't, right? Nimble does. And then what happened is, instead of, I think, the typical sales rep who's not intelligent in social selling, who did look at their followers and did see somebody like this who was relevant to their business, they would immediately go out and basically send that person a LinkedIn invitation. That's cold call. That's not a warm call. So what I did is I used the Nimble way. I walked in his digital footprint, and then what I did is essentially reached out on the channel that he connected to me on, and because he followed me on Twitter, I can direct message him. So I DM'd him a direct message on Twitter. Hey, Jon, thanks for the follow. I'd love to connect and learn more about you and your team. He DM'd me his cell 30 minutes later. We had a meeting a week later. Then that turned into a series of introduction and conversations that shifted from a Twitter follow to a retweet to a direct message invite to a phone call conversation back over to Twitter. Now IBM is using Nimble internally, and we're helping them with their social selling practice. This is the power of social selling. Everybody in your audience can do this today, and all they need to do this to start is to update all their identities across all their networks, build their personal brand, start nurturing their professional network, and on a daily basis, build relationships with people that matter to turn connections into conversations and relationships into revenue.
What's maybe the one or two the most important new skill sets that a salesperson needs today in order to really be successful in building relationships with today's modern, technology empowered, socially savvy customers?
I think that they need to become mini marketers. I think that the day of relying on your marketing department to do the job for you is over. I'm gonna give you an example. Evergage, I think it's there. I got an email today. I can't pull it up on the fly, but I got an email today. Oh, it's EdgeCash. So basically, I'm gonna pick on a sales rep. I got this email from this rep at sales at EdgeCash, and it was just a generic email that basically said, "Hey, here's a blog post that my team did recently. I hope we can connect." This shows me that he has taken no time to understand who I am, how I might serve him, or how he might serve me. You know, the interesting thing is that the principal of this company is an investor in Nimble. And if he bothered to do his homework and to Nimble me and look me up, he would have seen that there is a connection inside of his business that would enable him to effectively connect. And so I think that you need to think like a mini marketer. You need to understand who your customer is, what kind of content that would help them grow their business on a daily basis, curate and write content like that, find thought leaders who are building content like that, build relationships with those thought leaders, use them as a leverage to build a broadcast network to your constituency and prospective customers, and then begin to engage on a regular basis, paying that relationship forward with the thought leaders, connecting with their audience, and then turning those connections into relationships, and then ultimately into mutually beneficial business outcomes where not only do they come back, but they drag their friends with them. You do that by being the most authentic and relevant business person you can. Do what you say what you do. John Wooden said the most games are lost because you're not doing the basics. Do the basics. In business, that means that you listen to the customer, serve their needs, and you follow through on what you commit to, and you pay relationship forward over time.
And in the end, are you seeing people turning to this approach in order to get away from actual selling or actual relationship building, or are you seeing these folks use it to enhance their ability to do those things? I've seen some folks who really don't like to sell, and they're hoping that they can incorporate some of these tools and techniques instead of doing what you need to do, as opposed to enhancing. Are you seeing that, and how does that impact all that we've just been talking
Ultimately, the bottom line drives the business. And if what you're doing is not driving measurable business outcomes, then you shouldn't be doing it. And so the whole point of Nimble is to identify people that matter, to turn connections into conversations and relationships into a measurable business outcome. That's why we built the relationship side, the nurture and social marketing side, as well as the pipeline and reporting side of the business. And so I agree with you, Brent. There's a lot of people out there that are social butterflies, and they basically just use social to connect and build their network, but they're not ultimately driving any revenue or deriving a true measurable result where they're serving others and helping to grow their business. I think what you could see from Nimble is that we're hockey sticking right now, and the reason that we do is that content, and we are engaging with our customer, but what we're doing is we're basically powering them to grow their business. That's why they are not only our marketers, they're our salespeople, they're our customer service people, and they're our evangelists. And so if you could build an army of evangelists where they tell your story, that is an unstoppable business. I'd call that a gold mine. What do you think, Brent?
Wow, that was, you tied in gold mine. That was really slick, man. That was a good way to do it. And on that note, I'd like to thank Jon for really an hour full of great insights and information. And Jon, where could people learn more about Nimble and how they could begin using it if they so choose to?
Well, it's really easy. If you just go up to nimble.com, and I'd recommend that you follow Nimble on Twitter, you follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn, follow me on Twitter. What I do on a daily basis is I practice what I preach. I eat my own dog food. I teach others to fish, and they figure out that I do sell a fishing pole called Nimble, and then basically what you can do is sign up for your own trial, because Nimble's free to start, doesn't require any credit cards, and you could see why Mark Cuban's one of our biggest investors and biggest evangelists for the platform, is because Nimble does help you grow your business, and so come on up to nimble.com, give it a try, and see for yourself.
And once again, thanks, Jon, for taking time out of your whole vacation week. I mean, that's really, I really appreciate it. I think the folks who've been on this webinar definitely appreciate it. Lots of great information, lots of great insights, lots of, as we like to say, TnT, which are tips and tricks, to really start to put this together to build relationships efficiently. I think that's you need to build them, and you want to build them efficiently and effectively, because there's so much going on out there. There's so many folks that are getting bombarded with information. These tools allow you, and strategies allow you to be smart about your interactions, and hopefully to optimize the opportunity for actually connecting. And so, Jon, thanks again for all this great information. And thanks to everybody who's been on the webinar for this hour. It's another great hour, a lot of great tips and tricks. We really appreciate you hanging in there, and we will be sending out slides, and we will be sending a link to the recording of the webinar, so that you'll be able to check this out. You're probably going to have to check it out at least a couple times, because I know I am with all the things that Jon mentioned today. So once again, thanks to everybody, and we will see you next month. Take care.